I now call to order the Tuesday, February 12th, 2019 meeting of the City of Sugar Land Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 2, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission with regard to any of the matters on the agenda before us this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, the minutes. 3A, consideration of an action on the minutes of the January 24th, 2019 minutes meeting. Thank you, Dan. I have a move to approve as presented. Thank you very much. Okay. Motion to approve, seconded. Is there any discussion? It was Commissioner Simeone that made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Gallagher. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote. There you go.
Couldn't get this.
Let's see, we can blow that one. There you go. Okay, it passes unanimously, I believe. Moving on to item 4, subdivision plat 4A, consideration of an action on Greatwood Lake, section 2A, final plat. Lauren.
Get the mic on. Okay. Tonight we have the final plat for Greatwood Lake, section 2A, consisting of approximately 27 acres with 76 lots. It is in the city's ETJ and MUD 192. So this section 2A is located directly south of the Greatwood subdivision, which is now in the city, and it will get access from Massac Road through the existing Greatwood Lake section 1 development, which is shown here in the crosshatched red. So 2A is in the black here, shown kind of in a upside down U. So a little bit of background on this plat. The original preliminary plat, which was for this, what they're calling section 2A, and then a section that was south of section 1, was approved in 2015 with a 1-year extension that was received, but then the original preliminary plat did expire in August of 2017. So the applicant submitted a new preliminary plat for these 76 lots that are located north of Greatwood Lake Section 1, and this new preliminary plat for Section 2A was approved early last year, 2018. So this Section 2A that's before the Commission this evening is consistent with that new preliminary plat that was approved in 2018. And it's also consistent with the general land plan, and this is the minor amendment number 2 that was taken forward several years ago for Greatwood Lake. So the section 2A is essentially these lots here. And this is the approved preliminary plat from 2018, which again has the 76 lots shown here north of section 1. And then our proposed final plat this evening. Again, the 76 lots access through the existing section 1. And with that, staff recommends approval of Greatwood Lake section 2A with conditions to update Master Note 4 and remove all master notes with the NA designation. And we'd all be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Lauren or the applicant? Matt,
I have
did you have a question? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so Lauren, I did drive out there.
Okay.
And when I drove out there, at the corner of Mesquite Hill and Pecan Place Lane, there is a cul-de-sac area. It's not shown on here, but there's green space in there.
Okay. Let me go back.
Is there a reason it's not shown on this plat? Is it because it's already built and this was before then?
I'm trying to find you.
It's in the upper left-hand corner.
So here?
No. The cul-de-sac area that looks like a,
Up in here?
yes, right there. So in that area, there is green space. It's actually a circular drive, not just an open cul-de-sac.
So there's
There is
like
green,
almost a
there's a curbing and green space in
median
there.
type
Right.
thing in the middle there? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, that's the way some of the streets are done in section 1 too. So I think that's just the way they designed the right-of-way to have that as a feature. It's not something that would be shown on the
So it
plat. It's
doesn't
not a
need to be
separate
shown on the
reserve
plat?
or anything.
Okay.
That they've shown on the plat.
Is this subdivision already built
Yes.
Some of the roads,
in this section?
I believe so.
The roads are all built.
Well, you're awful confident you're gonna get it approved, aren't you?
Well, my concern was there is green space and it's not reserved as open space or landscape. It's just sitting there.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. But yeah, it's not shown up as a reserve on this plat, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they just designed it as part of their right-of-way.
I actually have a question.
Go ahead, Matt.
Up in the upper right-hand corner near the Circle 1, there's a 16-foot Houston Industries easement.
I'm sorry, where you at, Matt?
Right here.
I'm in the upper right-hand corner, right under where it says Greatwood Stonebridge, Section 2.
Oh, well,
Okay.
maybe not. Yeah,
Yeah.
up here, okay.
We get to
What?
Yeah,
So
what
you're
kind of
up-
an,
he's
what
up
kind of an
here.
easement is that?
Which one?
Um,
The Houston Industries easement?
I don't know if staff knows, but I can look and see if the applicant maybe knows. Stan, do y'all know what that is?
The reason I ask that is because General Note 7 says there are no pipelines or pipeline easements within the limits of the subdivision. And I wasn't clear, a lot of times the easements are labeled as to what they are. This one just said Houston Industries, so I thought I'd ask.
And even if it was, since it's not in the boundary of the
It's not
plat,
in the
that
boundaries.
note would still be valid.
Okay,
But I think they're discussing what,
okay.
we'll wait for an answer. So it's not, they're saying it's not a pipeline.
Any other questions on this side? Okay, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple questions, comments. On the top, sheet 1 of 2, talk about the restricted reserves are listed on the top. You have restricted reserve A 3 times. I think it should be, the second one is B, restricted reserve A. It should say B, and then C should
Yes,
read
B is B and C is C, yes.
C. On restricted reserve B over on the left side of the boundary, can we get another box labeling B down by the bearing of north 23 degrees? You got C labeled twice. I think I'd like to see another label of B on that far left side. Then under Crestnut Cove Lane, lower right side, there's an open space between Crescent Cove and the Mesquite Hill. It's the adjoining plat. I assume that's a reserve.
Let me go back, to the,
It's looked like a park reserve.
yes, it's right here, going back to the general land
Can
plan.
we label that what it is?
Yeah, it should have been like, yeah, we can relabel it.
Where is it? Oh, okay, okay.
That open space there.
Yes, okay, I see what you're saying.
Label that a reserve, landscape reserve, park reserve, whatever it is. In the abbreviation table, the legend, we have point of beginning, POB. Of course, I'm not sure that's necessary, but we've got beginning misspelled.
Well, while you're on that, if you're gonna beginning is on the plat?
Yeah, there's no point of beginning identified.
That's right, there it is. Let me get back to it.
Where is it?
It is down here, where I'm sort of circling. Where there's the X, Y, see POBs right there.
Oh, it is, okay,
Yep.
I'm sorry, it's
Okay.
down there.
Sure is a long way from where it is.
But I believe beginning's misspelled.
Yes.
And then all the other abbreviations look good, but we might ought to add ETJ for the layman may not know what that is. And then I found a typo in note 36. Misspelled R. All numbers omitted above R, City of Houston, City of Sugar Land, pardon me. That's all I had, thank you.
Dan, did you have something? I waited till you took a drink of
That's
water
okay.
to call
That's all
on
right,
you.
it's minor. I just noticed it has January 2019, so we should probably get that correct. In the title block. Both pages.
Did you have another question, Suzanne?
I did. It says, at the top hand left, it says 10-foot private STM-SE. There's no abbreviation for STM-SE that I found.
Oh, okay, for storm sewer. Okay.
Carl?
Got your pens ready?
I've got my pen ready.
For starters, I've always seen, oh, I guess I need to. Every plat I recall ever seeing, the dedicatory language is on page 1 of whatever. And this one has got page 2 of 2, and you got the other on page 1. I want the page numbers reversed. And then on the dedicatory language down in the notary, I noticed that the owner's address is in Dallas, so I don't know where this guy that they're gonna have signed, is he in Plano or is he in Houston or where? Because you got notary set up for a Fort Bend County. So who's gonna sign, where's this guy gonna sign at? Huh? Just thinking ahead.
Good evening, I'm Stan Winter at Jones Carter. The plan, the owner regularly visits our office in Bel Air, and so
Well,
there'll be.
you still need to change it then. It's not
Yeah.
in Fort Bend. The
Well,
notary's not.
we'll get it attested
That's all
correctly.
I'm saying.
Okay.
On this Reserve B, why, I understand maybe the little triangle, but why whatever the 10-foot strip behind a few lots? I don't understand why the reserve's there. If it was anything, it should have gone all the way, or not gone all the way, or what's the program?
It's to allow access to mow and maintain that reserve.
Why is it there to start with?
Why
Period.
is the access easement there?
No,
That's what you
Why
asked.
is the reserve there to
Why is
start?
the reserve there? That's your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if they just went down to lot 7, why didn't they take it all to lot 1 or not do it at all?
The purpose of the reserve, there's Reserve B, and then on the other side of the subdivision is Reserve C, and that
Right.
was a result of the fill that was added to the subdivision as part of the Lomer F to bring these lots out of the 100-year floodplain. By the time the grade, the fill is transitions back to the property line, we needed that space so that it would gradually slope down at a 5-to-1 slope and be at natural grade when it leaves our property.
Well, but you took Reserve C all the way down to the next plat, and this one,
Yeah,
this
it
looks-
required more fill.
But you didn't-
Reserve B only required 1 foot of fill, Reserve C required 3. So we needed a
But
wider
Reserve, all I'm
reserve.
saying is Reserve C went past where your Lomer was done. And Reserve B that goes past where your Lomer was, where you say you're done the Lomer. It's just weird. I mean, I understand where you got the fill. Are you saying that you've got this, as I read this Lomer F area, it's this dashed line, and it stopped at, going over there, it stops at lot 10. So was lot 9 filled? Or 8 or 7?
Okay,
I mean, it just looks weird.
So my name's Sean Birch. I'm the engineer for the project. I'm project engineer with Jones and Carter. So we designed, so if you look at, Lot 6 does not have that 10-foot reserve. And Lot 7, it starts and it works its way through Lot 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Right.
On the back of Lot 6, on the back of that lot, we didn't have to fill, and we matched natural ground. So we didn't need a reserve back there. Now, we needed to fill Lot 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and so we needed that reserve to transition back
I
to natural.
understand that. So go over to Reserve C. So where did you fill over there? Did you fill 45 and 46?
We had to, that adjacent ground on the other property to the east is very low, and so we had to fill Lot 45 and 46 as well. Since the street elevation is the same elevation, or doesn't change very much, we had to fill those lots as well. So that's why we carried it
So you
through.
filled outside of the Lomer area?
Yes, we did.
All right. Just, it looked weird, just on that. On Mesquite Hill Lane, we'll start there. You got on lot 7, there's a label called a 10-foot sanitary sewer easement. Then I go to lot 8, and the same, it says it's a 10-foot water line easement. So what do we got here? We tying water into sewer, or are we, might want to tell those people if you are.
Might not want to have any water at their house.
So it is labeled correctly. There's a loop in the water line around that knuckle, and that's the reason for the water line easement.
It is labeled correctly, but where does the sanitary line stop and where does the water line begin? I mean, are you putting them in the same easement? I mean, what'd you do?
So we're not putting it in the same easement. The sanitary sewer actually juts, or comes across into the median, and then there's another sanitary sewer manhole in the median, and we feed these lots with leads out of the median. And so the sanitary doesn't actually come around the knuckle. The water line does loop around the knuckle, but the sanitary sewer does not. So there's just a water line.
So that was my other question. I couldn't figure out how you're going to serve how are you going to get your leads to the sanitary sewer for lots 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Because that's right, that 10-foot water line just goes all the way around the whole bubble. So are you running out of here and you're saying going in the street to that, whatever that
That green space?
Green space?
That's not, depicted?
Right, there's a manhole located in the green space, and
so
leads
from
come out of that manhole.
That manhole, how are you getting sewer, where are you running your leads to those lots? If you're dead ending that sewer right there, basically.
Well, the sewer continues, and then there's one sanitary sewer that comes out with a manhole in the center of the green space, and then the leads come off that sewer line in that manhole.
So all of those lots leads come to that one manhole.
Not all of them go to the manhole. Some tie into the main. There's a main, there's a manhole and a main, and then another manhole. So some tie into the main. So not all of them tie into that last manhole.
Well, you pick up, so do you come out of that manhole and pick, I see this sanitary sewer, again, you got the same deal. Where does the 10-foot water line and the 10-foot sanitary easement stop and start on lot 14?
Yeah, I think we can be more clear in the way we call out
No
where
kidding.
it begins and where it
Really?
ends.
I think you could too. You know, it looks like, you're running them together. And what is this coming on around there to that same place? You got the dimension 22.71 and 20.90 with these arrows. What is that?
Well, Yeah, that's actually the dimensions where the water line easement stops and where the sanitary sewer easement stops.
It doesn't say what it is. I mean, I don't
Where are
understand.
you, Carl?
On lot 14,
Oh, okay.
Tim
Down
John,
in the
Assistant
street.
City Engineer, it's actually labeled, if you look at, and if we need to have them add additional labels, they can.
where do they label 2271 and 2090 down?
22.71 feet is the distance from the western edge of Lot 14 is a 10-foot water line easement. And then the
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
20.9 feet is the distance from the eastern edge of Lot 14. That's the end of the 10-foot sanitary sewer easement. So they actually did what we asked them to do. They're defining the limits of those respective easements, and those respective easements are called out in Lot 14.
Would you say they're arc distances?
You've never figured out from the way it's looked there.
They are on a curve.
Yes, those are arc distances, correct.
Jesus Christ.
And so I think it would be helpful to add some labels, Tim.
Sure.
I mean, and I'll just start here. Why, I mean, you talk about, where's it at? What note do you talk about the elevations? Where's it at? 74 point something? I'm
Is
confused.
it
on the-
37?
Huh?
37?
Yeah. Is it 37?
Is it the elevation
No,
show?
no, it's the,
What do you,
help me out. Where's the finished floor elevation?
13.
oh, the finished floor elevation.
Over here, I'm
Okay,
over here,
sorry,
yeah.
13.
13, the minimum floor elevation shall be 77.40 feet, blah, blah, blah. So why are we, but then you talk about, then you got these elevations on the plat, minimum slab elevation on these various lots that are higher than the minimum elevation that's in note 13. And the way I read these things are sloping down till you get, going down to where there's a, if you follow the topo, I guess, or if you build it something, I don't know if the topo's that way or what, but it looks weird.
So,
Why even put it over there if you got a loamer and you record the loamer, you don't need to do
So
that.
historically, when we've had lots adjacent to lakes and et cetera, we've always asked the slab elevation to be shown, just for the benefit of the buyer of the property. The note that's shown in 13 is the minimum slab elevation, but if there's a minimum slab elevation shown in each lot, that's what's been determined through the loamer itself. And the loamer is
Well,
referenced as
then,
well.
note 13, well, it's sort of misleading. If somebody just stops reading, They go look at, you know, so they're
Well,
gonna
that's
say
their fault if they don't
77.04.
finish
Well,
reading it.
It's the word,
I mean, it's
the
pretty
word-
clear.
It says minimum, it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's
I
not the
know.
max, it's the minimum. And
It's
it meets the plat note requirement, and it meets all the conditions of the LOMR.
It's pretty clear if they read the whole note, what it means.
That's the first time I ever seen one like that, though, but that's why I'm questioning it. I don't know. All right. So I'll get off of the minimum slab then. Now, up here on the, I guess we'll start with Reserve A. First of all, you got, at the edge of the plat boundary, you've got a note, an arrow that says drainage easement. So it says note 38. 38 says, ownership and maintenance of all drainage easements and reserves. Keyword reserves there, let me keep that in mind, is the responsibility of Fort Bend County Municipal Utility District 192. These, I don't think that 192 is going to take care of Reserve B and C. But that's not what it says. And then when it says drainage easements, the fact that you label it with an arrow up there, drainage easement, where is the recorded drainage easement that you're referring to? Because the only one that I see is a 30-foot drainage easement that comes from Pecan Place Lane, which is the outfall, and it goes over to that part of Rab's Bayou that's in lid 11. So I don't know how the other part of Rab's ever got, there's nothing in here says it's a drainage easement, at least on the face of this plat.
Let me go back to your comment on the maintenance of B and C. So we added, or the applicant added note 43?
On what?
The applicant added note 43?
Read 38, though. What, you got to get 38 squared away.
Okay. I see what 38 says, and reserves. And then 43 is a clarifying note, essentially saying that ownership, maintenance of A, and that the HOA will maintain B and C. And that the access easements are to allow the HOA to access B and C through A. Now, we can take off the S on reserves in note 38, and then it would just be referring to one reserve.
Well, then you should, if you're talking about, but my ownership and maintenance of all drainage easements,
Okay?
you still haven't told me that there's a drainage easement. Just because
Sure.
it says up
But-
there drainage easement, there's no document, I don't see anything that's recorded.
And we'll address that, but you had a two-part question, so I want to be sure that
This thing's got too many two parts.
I want to be sure that the first part was clear, so,
So Lauren, should note 38 say Reserve A?
it
Take
could,
the
that
S
was,
off and add A?
sure, let me make sure.
Ownership and maintenance of there, I want to know, if it says drainage easements and it's not recorded, there's no dang drainage easement.
Well, let her,
So-
Come on, people.
So
Let her
we'll
address it.
modify 38 to say Reserve A, and all drainage easements and Reserve A. And then Reserve A is, this plat is creating Reserve A, the drainage easement,
Where?
in the plat boundary. That's what A is restricted to drainage purposes only if you look in the table.
That doesn't make it an easement of record.
The plat is going to be a record.
I don't,
With
I
the-
don't,
Easement, I know,
Huh?
I know. The plat's creating the easement, like I said. Yeah,
it says the land use is drainage. It doesn't say that up here in the reserve table, it says reserve table, land use is drainage. It never says it established the easement, in my opinion. I would
Yeah,
be
it's-
stuck. Think about that.
It's a reserve, not an easement, right?
But it's a reserve being labeled as a drainage easement.
No, it says land use is drainage. Doesn't say it's dedicated as a drainage easement, in my opinion.
So so rewording it to not say, okay, to be drainage easement. I mean, that's what this is doing. That's why we have note 38 is creating the drainage easement, though. I want to be sure that the drainage area is being recorded with this plat.
But
But it's not an
look here, the
easement.
drainage
It's
easement-
a reserve.
There's three references to drainage easement up there where you're talking about, unless I'm missing something. And it's to that one line along the top of the plat. Otherwise, I don't know where, I mean, there's no definition. I mean, you got a Reserve A, but Reserve A, nowhere is it spelled out that Reserve A is dedicated as a drainage easement.
So, okay. I guess we're just of the opinion that note 38 creates it as a drainage easement.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jay.
You know, by note 38, it says the MUD 192 owns that Reserve A,
And it doesn't.
and LID owns the other half of Rabs Bayou to the north. Is that correct?
But right now, part of this plat, the MUD doesn't own that Reserve A. It's owned by it's only one owner on the dedicatory language, which includes that. So
That's
the
true.
MUD's not an owner. So it's can't, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You
So
gotta do it
can you
right.
answer Jay's question?
So
Please.
the LID owns the north half of the bayou.
Yes.
But see,
Who's going to own Reserve A?
Well,
this says MUD.
again, that's what
192.
that's what note 38 is saying. That's why we're comfortable with it, because it's,
So you have two owners, one each owning half of the bayou?
right. It'll be,
Ownership has not transferred with this wording
Right.
in this plat,
not yet,
period. Right now, it's owned by the developer.
correct?
So to say that the ownership is in MUD 192 is incorrect.
But once conveyed to MUD 192, it will be.
Is it being conveyed to them?
That's what we're being told from the applicant, yes.
We don't know that. We're
How-
approving a
what-
plat,
How's
and we
it,
don't
how's
know
it
that
being
it's conveyed.
conveyed?
or
And when is
will
it
be
being conveyed? Prior to recordation of the plat?
I mean, Jesus.
No, it'll be conveyed after the recordation of the plat. So we
So
spoke.
you're asking us to pre-approve something that
Trust me.
hasn't happened yet, is,
I think it's time this thing gets kicked back. I'm tired of this stuff. It's not right. And I'm not in favor of it, this kind of stuff.
do you have any other questions?
I don't know, yes, I do, but. So we agree that the landowner, the developer still owns Reserve A, is that correct? There's no question about that.
Right.
So he should have conveyed that before he came in here with a plat, if he wants that as a drainage, and he wants to say that over here in note 38.
We would have to convey it by meets and bounds, which would be an illegal subdivision. That's why we're going through excuse me, I'm sorry. Typically, you would create the reserve and convey the reserve after the plat is recorded. Otherwise, the only way to convey ownership of that land would be to do it by meets and bounds, which would be, technically an illegal subdivision of land to convey ownership, dividing it in two parts and convey it to another entity.
But you still haven't created, I don't see how you created the drainage easement by saying that the Reserve A, that the land use is drainage. There's nothing that spells out, like the 30-foot drainage easement, there's a recorded document that spells out that's a drainage easement. You can do the drainage easement as like the road, or like a sanitary sewer easement, but you haven't done that in this plat.
Okay, so this note is all stemming from, we worked with Fort Bend County Drainage District, and we asked them, who's going to own and maintain this area of Rabs Bayou? Because now we've, in our construction
Because a part of
plans.
it's owned by the lid.
Let him
right?
finish.
And so,
So you're talking about this part, not the part owned by the lid.
yeah, so the existing part of Rabs Bayou that exists where the channel is today may be owned by the lid, but Fort Bend County Drainage District maintains it. They mow it every quarter or so. So with part of our design, we've widened Rabs Bayou, and we asked the Drainage District, well, who's going to own and maintain this portion of Rabs Bayou? And they said, well, we're not going to own it, but we're going to maintain it. We need a drainage easement. So our intention is to dedicate this drainage easement with this plat. So it's not an existing drainage easement. We're proposing it with this plat.
But who's it gonna be dedicated to? Did you just say not Fort Bend, didn't you just say that Fort Bend County Drainage District wanted it dedicated to them?
Yes, they do want it
That
dedicated to them.
doesn't say that anywhere in here.
We need to dedicate and make that a little more clear, dedicating
You
a
need
drainage
go
easement to
back
the
and Do a
public.
separate instrument dedication and then reflect that on your plat.
Well, the Drainage District told us we could dedicate it by plat to the public as a public drainage easement, and that would be fine with them.
Where does it say that on this plat?
Well, I think in the abbreviation table, we could add that in there.
That, that doesn't that didn't pass muster with me. And I'm sorry, and I've done a lot of drainage easements in my time.
What other questions do you have, Carl?
Let me see. I think you need to label in this, between lot 19 and lot 20, that needs to be a label, because I assume that is part of Reserve A. Nobody says. It's got all kind of access and 30-foot drainage easements and stuff, but is that all part of Reserve A?
It's labeled in the detail as Reserve A.
Where?
There's an inset. But you could add a label up there that would clarify.
Well, I could certainly do that at the top dash line there, I don't know. I mean, I think it should be shown more, it's confusing as to what part of that is Reserve A. You got so many lines running through it.
Well, they've got the inset detail, but to add a label on the space between lots 19 and 20.
Okay. I would suggest on that same, now in the inset of detail A, you've got this 10-foot, this is the weirdest. What is this 10-foot sanitary sewer easement? It comes in, goes up, goes across, comes down, and goes across. What are we doing here?
So the reason why the sanitary sewer goes up and around like that is because there's a drainage structure there, and it has a drop structure in it. And so the sanitary sewer had to get around and get to where after the drop structure lowers, the sanitary sewer goes above the storm pipe. And in order for there not to be a conflict and for it to pass, that's why the sanitary sewer had to come around like that.
I would suggest then that the only thing I would suggest, I didn't know what was going on there, but label the 10-foot sanitary sewer easement down where you turn it. You got it on the side coming down, but it just, let it know that it goes, east and west or whichever way it's going, so you know that it's a sanitary that's going to the, next to the lots 19 and 20. Okay, I think I understand that inset. Boy, y'all got a lot of cutting and pasting you did here. Where's 5-foot sanitary sewer easement in? See plat. Set B, where's B at? I've lost it. Where's that at? You've got too many lines in this thing. There's somewhere here there's a 5-foot sanitary sewer easement. Oh. You don't show on the detail of B, but we got the same 5-foot water line easement, 5-foot sanitary sewer easement coming around in this bubble. And it doesn't show it. I can't figure out which is what, where it stops and starts.
Yeah.
You with me, Tim?
Yeah, we'll have them add
You see
that.
how that?
Yep. We can have them add the 5-foot label.
And then I would say to you that in the detail B, they've got a 10-foot UE labeled in the inset, but in actual, on the plat, it's a 14-foot UE. So you can't have one in one place and one in another. You see what I'm talking about? Look on lot 18. It's
Yep.
labeled on the plat, over in the regular deal, as a 14-foot UE, and the inset, they labeled it as a 10-foot UE.
Yeah, we'll have them fix that.
So which is it?
Yeah, which is, I mean, should be a 14.
Your detail B.
What lot is that? 14?
18.
18.
That's the one on, that's the part on the inset that they.
The detail's mislabeled, it should be 14.
All right. Lot 19. And you got, lot 19 shows that 5-foot water line easement coming up, but it, and I can't tell, it's not shown on lot 18 on this inset, so I don't know, something goes on around. You see what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about on the east side of
If you look at
19?
lot 19, there's a label right at the edge, again, between lot 19 and 18, it says 5-foot water line easement. Okay? It's on lot 19 where the label is in the arrow. So when you go to the detail, it doesn't mention anything about the continuation of a 5-foot water line. So I don't know where, and you got, and you come around the other way, it starts with a sanitary. It's the same thing. God damn, it's built. I don't even know where it's
I
at.
think the detail is correct. I think it may be the end of the cul-de-sac, some of the text.
Tim, I
may
don't
be
want
over.
to think the thing's built. We better find out where it's at.
I'm saying the text over the line is obscuring.
What now? You see the label on 19 where it says 5-foot water line easement? Look at the plat. Don't look at the inset. Look at the plat. Huh?
Yes.
You see that? All right. Does that continue on? But it doesn't show up on any detail on this inset.
Yes, it does continue around
To where?
Lot 18, and then cuts across between 17 and 18, and then cuts across between lots 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yes, in Block 3. What I'm trying to say is,
I'm not up there. I don't have any, I'm not looking.
49.4-foot text obscures the path of that water line, but it's there.
But it's not showing up in this inset. This inset detail doesn't show a water line.
It can be added.
No,
The
it
label-
should be
the
added.
label
Tim.
can be
It-
added.
You know,
Okay,
I,
okay.
The
tired
label
of-
can be
What
added.
other questions do you have, Carl?
Jesus Christ. I'm sick and tired of this stuff. The other inset, where's that at? C. Can't keep up with my inserts. Chestnut. I think on the, the inset C, as you make that 10-foot access easement, it comes around and turns, mark that down where the, going out to the street, so we know what that is. And then the same with the 16-foot water line easement that comes around and jogs down and comes back out. Put another label over here close to the edge of it so you know that it's the same water line easement, because they got so many things going on.
All right, we'll add those additional labels.
All right, and note, let me see here. Note 27, all lake easements, open space, with boundaries, within the boundaries of this shall, within the boundaries of this what? Shouldn't that be this plat?
Where are you?
Note 27?
Note 27.
You agree?
Yeah, this plat.
Huh?
Yeah, we'll add the word plat.
In note 5, where we just list all of the entities, we left out Fort Bend County Subsidence District.
We'll have them add that to the note as well.
And note 40, where we talk about Great Wood Lake Section 2 lies within the lighting zone, regular outdoor lighting. Shouldn't we have, what is that language? They got it over in there. Usually. They've made it part of their dedicatory language about orders for regulation of outdoor lighting in the unincorporated, is recorded with the Commissioner's Court, et cetera, et cetera. Shouldn't that be added in here in this note? If you're gonna,
That's a county note. I don't think it ever gets to my knowledge, it doesn't get that detailed, but we just do what the county wants it to say.
before, we've had all of this, the same thing they said it, I've never seen it in the dedicatory language, I've always seen it somewhere.
It's not wrong. This is what the county wants, though, because they're reviewing this plat, too.
Note 43, add a S to homeowners. It's homeowners association, not homeowner association. Did we ever come to a conclusion on this Reserve A? Dedication,
Just-
whatever.
Just,
I'm not satisfied with the way they're doing it.
Is that all you have? We're not going to discuss it now. We have to wait till after a motion to discuss Reserve A.
What? Okay, let's see I guess that's enough. They never get it right anyhow.
Would someone,
I'd
does
like to make
anyone,
a
go
motion.
ahead.
In light of all the issues that we've discovered on the plat, particularly addressing easements, I make a motion that we disapprove this, or not approve this, and it goes back for corrections and
Okay.
gets submitted
Motion's
at a
been made
later.
by Commissioner Canine. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Stevens has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Yeah, I'm overwhelmed at the number of corrections. I think it's a good motion. I guess if no discussion, nobody else? Go ahead and vote. I'm going to call for the vote.
For denial, right?
For denial.
Right,
Can
so.
I clarify what we're
How-
voting on?
Right, it says for approval, to approve the motion, to approve the motion.
To not approve it.
Right,
The motion, and the motion was to.
right.
Okay, I think you need to reset it then, because the motion was to not approve. So if we're approving the motion,
No.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, no.
right?
If you look at the vote box, 4A, SP approve, this is for approval of the plat.
That is
That's how I
not
read
what
that.
the
It's
motion
approval-
was.
It's approval of the motion.
Well, I understand what we're voting, I'm concerned about what we're
So
seeing on the
clarify
screen.
what
Why don't
we're
we do away with
voting,
this thing and let's have a hand vote?
please
And if-
clarify what we're voting on. Are we voting to approve the motion or the plat?
No, it's to approve the plat, but this is, we can't change that template, so.
Okay,
If a
so
hand vote would
please
be better,
reset
I'll
it.
look to Shay for that, but. I
Please
don't-
reset it.
A hand vote, okay.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
all in favor of the motion, please signify by
And the
raising your
motion
hand.
is for
And
denial.
and the motion is for denial, and that was seconded. Motion made by Commissioner Canine was to recommend deny, or to deny it, and seconded by Commissioner Stevens was denial. So all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, I think that's all of us. The plat is denied. The approval of the plat is
So
denied.
now how do I get out of this mess?
So we will
Cancel the
just,
vote? I'm going to cancel my vote.
we'll just move on to item 5, reports. 5A, Planning and Zoning Commission Liaison Report to the City Council meeting held on February 5th.
That's me. So, the city council meeting last Tuesday on the 5th started off as a real celebration. The city council recognized a couple of members to the Radio Hall of Fame. They also recognized all of the engineers, which I will again point out, well-received recognition of all the city engineers. And the quote from the mayor was, "The city has the best staff." The meeting went along with consent agendas, everything pretty much passed 7-0. Discussions about different bond referenda, district bonds, redevelopment bonds went forward. Some good news on the city airport, which is 100% occupied and now waitlisted. for new airplane hangar space, and so that's one of the bonds, was to build new hangar space. Sugar Land Regional Airport's been called the luxury gateway to the southeast of Texas. Moving right along, the meeting went great until the second set of public hearings where everyone's, how do I say this? I'm on record, aren't I? I'm on TV as well. With Sugar Land's most vocal concern, Citizen Leon came up to address the city, and this is as we got towards the new zoning codes. And Leon was able to convince a couple of the council members, and I apologize, I did not write down which ones, to set up some type of special task force to review minor plat processes, and that's to be determined with the mayor and city manager. Then there were a couple other council members that started to get very concerned about the number of parking spaces that were in the various city code templates. And the discussion turned slightly sour. The city council did pass the first consideration 7-0, but with that understanding that there would be some level of task force with the mayor and city managers to review minor plats, and then a redefinition of parking spaces within the city and how that zoning code went forward. There was nothing else I had of note, but whenever that is tabled for the next agenda to go over the zoning, that should be interesting as well. I expect concerned citizen Leon will continue to attend the city council meetings as we go forward in the zoning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, city staff report. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, so. So motion by Commissioner Stevens, seconded by Andy, what's your last name? Ushold. All in favor? Aye. We're now adjourned. Thank you, Andy.
Really? Sam from turning